Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video we are going to see some advanced thing uh, about abstract class and interfaces in Java. As we know that about abstract class is a class that holds abstract method and non-abstract method is called abstract class, whereas a class that holds only abstract methods are called interfaces. So now the advanced thing that comes in interface is that from Java 8, interface can also have a method with body. Now this is the advanced thing about interfaces. Normally what happen that we create an interface like this, interface test. Okay, this is called interface. And about abstract class, it also it can have a non-abstract method, like we have to define. Okay, it can also have non-abstract method. Here can be anything, whatever you want. Okay, now if I say that I can have a body, a method with body in interface, and that called default method in interface. The default method cannot be added into abstract class. It is only for interfaces. Now, if we came to the real definition of abstract class and interface is like interface is designed to define a capability that classes can implement. It means that interfaces define a capability that its subclass can have, regardless of where they sit in inheritance hierarchy. In, Interfaces specify what a class can do, but not necessarily how it does it. It it only provide the capability or something that their subclass can do whatever they want. What in the case of abstract class is to share common implementation across related class or subclass. It means that abstract class can provide the common implementation that a subclass should have. A subclass is needed to implement that common methods. It can provide fully independent method and abstract method both. Okay, so these are the common these are the main difference about the definition. Now if we can define a no a body method in interface, then what is the difference between abstract and interface, as we can also have a method with body in abstract class. So now the main point that comes, the difference that comes in interface, the first thing is that with the help of interface we can use multiple inheritance, and in abstract class we cannot have. In Java, interface is the only way to achieve the inheritance, but there is a problem. We have two interfaces, and they have the same default method with same name, then it can be ambiguity when we implement or when we inherit the property with the subclass. So in that case we need to define that default method or provided or override that default method into subclass. Okay, let's see an example. I am using IntelliJ IDEA for our program. You can use whatever you want. Okay, so let's create a class. Okay, create an interface that can have first a abstract method like void function, and second default method. We can provide a body like this is default method of interface A. Okay, now we are implementing the second interface, the interface V, then can have function 3 that will be abstract method and default method with the same name as function 2, and it should be off. Okay, now let's implement that classes into a new class with name C implements A comma V. Wait a minute. Okay, let's resolve it later. V, and as we know that we have to implement or override the method of class of interface A and interface V, that is abstract method. First one is void function, and second will be from interface V, that is function 3. This is tracked method from PC. First of all it should be function 2, and what is the error? Speaker access privilege was public. Okay, interface B. Okay, now here is the problem that I was discussing about. It is creating an ambiguity. Like C implements a, using uses the multiple inheritance. But here is the problem that same function 2 is defined in interface A and as well as in interface B. Then it needed to define or override the function 2 as it is default, but here is the ambiguity. So for that I need to override the function 3. Okay, now you can see that there is a no any error. It means that we have, if we are using a default method and using a multiple inheritance as well as, so we need to override the default method in the same. Okay, now let's see the another difference. Okay, the interfaces can have a instance variable, but by default it is public static final. It cannot have non-static non-final. It should have only no public static and final. Both uh, they all are together. But in the abstract class there is not it is not necessary that it should be public static and final. It can have public, private, protected. Let's see an example. Like this is in our interface A. If I define int A is equal or int A, then it will give an error because final or static variable should have an initialization in interface. As you know that we can initialize static or final variable as the at the time of object creation, but here we cannot have an object of interfaces or classes, so we need to define is at the defining time because they are static by default, because they are static final. So we have to define the value. Now how can we say that it is final static? Final means that its value cannot be modified. Okay, so let's suppose a we are we are using the function method of interface A. Let's suppose if I want to modify the value of I cannot because a is static, a is final. You can see cannot assign a value of final variable a because it is final by default. Static is because we cannot have a object of interface A. So for all object of C, the value of A will be 0. Okay. Now see the next difference is inheritance can have default and the static method with bodies, and abstract method cannot have the default method but can have independent and abstract method both in the abstract class. Now the next differences that comes is related to constructor. Okay, in interface we cannot have constructor as they are not meant to be initiated, because we cannot create a object of interface as well as the instance variables are only static final. So there is no mean to be creation of object but of constructor. But in abstract class we can have a constructor which can be used to initialize field that subclass inherit, because there are instance variable for these subclasses. It is not necessary that they are final or static. So that's why abstract class we can have constructor, but interface we cannot have. So this is the this was all about the interface and abstract class. Let's meet in the next video. For till, bye bye.